topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This morning's first expert, after what's gone on this weekend in Gaza, I think is going to be a very interesting show because I know that the markets are closed today due to the holidays. So this will be a very special show. Let me introduce you to our expert who's with us every month. Actually, he's with us twice a month. Let me introduce you to Ray Ferrara. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Steve. And as always, happy Monday. Great to be with you again.
Yeah. Now, today is a holiday. Is the markets closed today?
No, the markets are open today. Both the bond and the stock markets are open.
Okay, because I know the banks and mail service are closed today.
I was not, I hadn't even thought about whether they were or they weren't. But no, the markets are open. In fact, this morning the indication is that the market, the Dow would be down about 150 points. At this point. It should be a very interesting day, as you said, in light of the events of this past weekend.
Well, before we get started, tell everybody, first of all, Ray, about Provise and your company.
Steve, Provise Management Group is a company that is 37 years old. I founded it back in 1986. And today it's one of the leading financial planning and investment management firms in the country, and somewhere in the top 10 for individual companies here in Florida. We're serving about 1,200 families scattered across 34 states, obviously most of them here in Florida. And we're managing somewhere around $1.6 to $1.7 billion. It changes day to day, obviously, so you never know exactly where it is at any given time. But we stress, Steve, that not our investment management expertise, which is very good, but with our clients, we stress the importance of financial planning and to do a financial plan, because those who have a plan that's written generally will have better results than those that are just going about it on a day-to-day basis without really having a written plan. And any business owner knows that if they want their business to be successful, they better have a written financial plan. Same applies to us at our own personal level.
Well, it seems like the market is changing day by day, and I just can't not see anybody not having a company like yours to represent them, to work with them, to sit down with them and handle their financial planning.
Well, Steve, clearly there are a certain subset of people who are do-it-yourselfers, and that's a very small group. Although with younger folks, it's a larger group than it is with those that are nearing or in retirement today. And within that subgroup, there's only a handful that really understand all of the things that they could be doing. And I think that it's one thing when you have a cold to just take a couple of Tylenol, but when you are dealing with your serious money, just as when you're dealing with the seriousness of your health, it's best to go to an expert. And we are, at the risk of being a bit immodest, we feel like we do a really great job, and our clients do as well, Steve. We have a year over year 97% retention of our clients in an industry where it is significantly lower than that.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, Ray, boy, you have to be living under a stone not to know something about what's gone on this weekend. In fact, my girlfriend has been in Greece, and even she heard about what is going on, over in Gaza. How is that going to affect the market today?
Steve, first of all, what a tragedy. My heart goes out to those lives that have been lost on both sides. What the reason was that Hamas decided to make a move into Israel at this time, what that motivation was, I don't know. But it's just a terrible loss of life, and I fear that there's going to be a lot more. So let's pray for those families that have been affected or will likely be affected. As to the markets, it's kind of this morning it's yawning a little bit at those events. The market doesn't seem to be reacting to it, although oil is up about $3 a barrel from where it closed last week. And Iran, which now people are beginning to say may have been involved in the planning of this attack. The question is does Israel decide to attack Iran if they have proof that they were involved? Iran provides about 10% of the world's oil, and without that supply, prices will go up. At least in the short run, and from an long-term investing point of view, just if you've got good investments, if you have a good asset allocation, from an investment point of view, ignore the events that are going on in the Middle East at the moment. As crazy as this is going to sound, if you go back historically, to other skirmishes and wars, if you will, that have occurred in the Middle East over the years, from both a global and domestic standpoint on the economies, they've had relatively small effect. Probably one could argue back in 1973, which I can remember, Steve, with the war that occurred around the Yom Kippur holiday, just as we're looking at this year.
Right.
Started the Arab oil crisis and prices escalating. And I remember watching gasoline prices double in a very short period of time. And I know this is going to sound really funny to some younger folks that are out there, but it went from 25 cents a gallon up to 50 cents a gallon in no time at all.
And we thought we had it bad. Crazy. Ray, I really think that this is beyond anything we've ever seen, because even Israel admits that last time that they were attacked by Gaza, they started trying to eliminate a lot of the tunnels there. But this time I think it's going to, and they didn't eliminate all the tunnels. I think it's going to be worse this time. I hate to say this. And I have a feeling they're going to be able to prove Iran was behind this. And if that's the case, the first thing that will be attacked with Iran, something most important to them, are their oil fields.
Well, certainly their oil fields would be attacked, as well as their nuclear facilities, although most of those facilities that are involved with the enrichment of uranium for a bomb are well buried into mountainsides, and probably very difficult to attack, let alone destroy. But let's keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't escalate. It's bad enough the way it is, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail. From our standpoint on a political basis, back up for just a second. Part of the speculation is that Hamas may have thought that Israel was fractured given the issues that they have faced domestically over the last 9 to 12 months. The issues around the alleged corruption of the prime minister, the weakening of the Supreme Court, et cetera. And domestically, there's a lot of infighting, much like there is here in the United States. But much like here in the United States, as we saw back on September 11th, attack a country that may seem to be divided domestically, and it's a great way to bring them back together again. And I suspect that out of this, at least in the short run, the Israelis will unite around trying to get back the prisoners that have been taken, and hopefully it will be a relatively short war, much like the 6-day war back in 2003, or excuse me, in 73.
So, do you see it affecting the market over this week?
If the war expands beyond Israel attacking the Hamas in Gaza, it's hard not to imagine that it will have an effect and bleed into the world global basis. And that would be particularly true if Israel were to decide to attack Iran. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But again, my caution to investors is stay the course, let it play out. And in the long run, we should be okay, even though in the short run, our balance sheets might not look good another week or two from now. Just relax. Don't try to react to the events of the day. Think of the long term.
Okay. Well, it seems like we've always got something. I remember our last show we did, you were afraid there could be a shutdown. Most of the United States was afraid there could be a shutdown. It didn't happen, but it's still not settled now. What can we expect now until about the middle of November?
Well, there's, I don't know, let's see what at this point, we got 35 days roughly to get to the middle of November when the short-term resolution kept the government operating. I did say I thought the shutdown would occur.
Most people did.
What I didn't anticipate was that McCarthy would be removed as the Speaker of the House instead, because he made a deal with the Democrats. We have, and I always hesitate to delve into politics because, as I say, some of my friends are Republicans, some of my friends are Democrats, and some of my friends and clients are independents. And I just want you to know that I agree with my friends, Steve.
Okay.
So, but the unfortunate part is that we have a small number of people that are totally disrupting our government at the present time. Given what we were just talking about with the events in Israel, while there's no immediate need for us to provide additional aid to Israel, it's going to come at some point. I don't think that we will do anything actively ourselves with our own military, even though we moved some naval forces nearby, unless we are attacked. And if that happens, then I could be I could be very concerned for much more important things than the markets. So I would say to you that maybe this crisis will somehow force Republicans and Democrats to say, let's put our differences aside at the moment. We've got important world issues that are occurring that not only could affect the world economy, but the tragic loss of life. Maybe there's a chance that they can come together. And at this point, I could visualize that somehow a Republican is selected, making some compromise concessions to the Democrats to actually end up becoming the House Speaker. There was even one fellow this weekend that said that McCarthy will get nominated and that the Democrats would rather have the devil they know than the devil they don't. We'll have to wait to see how that plays out. But lacking the events that occurred this weekend, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see the government shut down just before the holidays. But perhaps cooler heads will prevail and people will put their own personal egos in their pockets and do what's best for the country, not what's best for a political agenda.
Right.
That's my hope, Steve. I'm the eternal optimist, I will admit, in most things in life.
You have to with all those friends you've got. I don't know if I want to be at the dinner table, but anyway, let's go. August and September, from what I understand, were not kind to the equity market. How do you see the fourth quarter panning out?
Steve, most people think that this month, October, is the worst month for the stock market historically. And it's clearly been the month in which big drops have occurred.
October.
Go back to 1927, go back to Black Friday in 1987. And other times that it's dropped dramatically. But September has historically been the worst month for the market. The interesting part is that when August and September over the last 4 years have been down as they were this year, the fourth quarter has been positive and on several occasions has been up double digits. When we go back and look at the jobs numbers from last week, with over 300,000 new jobs being created in the month of August and upward adjustment, nobody's talking about this, the upward adjustment of 190,000 jobs in the previous 2 months. That means within the last 3 months, we have employed almost 750, 800,000 people. You add that into the mix of people now making money that were not making money in the third quarter, but they will be in the fourth quarter. That is going to add to consumer demand. There are other factors that will dampen it, like student loan debt, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later this morning. But it is hard for us to see that the economy will be weaker in the fourth quarter than it was in the third quarter. And with that in mind, it's our sense that even with another interest rate rise from the Feds, that the fourth quarter will be positive. How positive it's going to be remains to be seen, but we do believe that the economy will grow in this fourth quarter, and we do believe that the market is likely to reflect that in anticipation of that announcement to come out right after the first of the year.
Well, the bond market also suffered as well. What can we expect about long-term interest rates over the next year?
Well, yes, we're looking at a 10-year Treasury that is in the upper 4% range. It almost hit 4.9%. And the interesting part about this is that everybody's worried that because of these high rates that the economy can't grow. Historically, the 10-year Treasury has averaged and hovered around 5%, plus or minus 1% over time. So if we look back pre the financial crisis, the interest rates were there, and we were doing reasonably well in the 2000s, particularly in the real estate area, but other areas as well. Businesses have a way of being able to adapt to the current events over time. And I think businesses will do that again, even if we keep interest rates higher for longer. I think that we can expect long-term rates to continue to drift up in the short run. I'm going to say, will be between now and the end of the year. There may be an opportunity at that point for some people to lock in some yields for the next 10 years that may look awfully good a couple of years from now. But again, if people are looking for an opportunity to buy bonds, I would still be careful on duration. We have historically, the last couple of years, been on the shorter end of the duration curve. We are moving up slightly, but only to a duration of maybe 3.5 or 4, but not time to go out on long bonds, even the 10-year at this point for most investors.
Well, we're coming. I can't believe how fast the show has gone by already. You are going to be with us again this month, which we'll be promoting. Tell everybody, I love the way you respond to this question. Why should I have you representing my financial interest?
Well, as I tell everyone that is looking for a financial planner, the first thing is I think that you want to look for a financial planner or a firm that is predominantly comprised of certified financial planners, CFP professionals. And I will admit my bias, having not only served on the board of the Certified Financial Board of Standards, but was fortunate enough to be the chair of that organization in 2014. But the reason it's important to have that is that it's about competence and it's about ethics. A certified financial planner professional subscribes to a very rigorous code of conduct and ethics. We have standards on how we practice. When providing financial advice, we must do so at a fiduciary standard of care, meaning we have to put our clients' interest ahead of ourselves. So the first point, or the first filter I would say for most people, is seek out a CFP professional in their area. And they can certainly do that by simply going to cfpboard.org or cfp.org, and they can find a certified financial planner in their area. The next thing that I think is really important is finding a planner that has a good, what I refer to as table side manner. That is one that doesn't, it's like a doctor having a good bedside manner. You want a doctor who's going to explain things to you in language that you're going to understand. You don't want to hear, oh, I'll take care of that. Don't worry. I know better. I know best. I'm your doctor. I'm your financial planner. You just leave it to me. That's not who you want as a financial planner. You want somebody who's going to be collaborative, who's going to educate, who's going to help you. And then I guess the next thing that I would say is that I would look for a firm that has several planners, so that you're not just working with a solo person, but that you're working with a team that can help you. Because invariably, if it's just a solo individual, there are going to be those times when you really need to talk to your financial planner that for whatever reason, he or she is not going to be available. And at Provise, we've got 14 professionals, all of whom are certified by the CFP board. And so those are the reasons that I strongly urge people to look for any professional to help and us. And the fact that we have, as I mentioned earlier, a 97% retention, which includes people who pass away. It includes people who move, people who have a relative that come into the business and they switch their funds there. Whatever the reason, having that kind of retention says something about the work that we do on a day-to-day basis for our 1,200 clients.
Ray, we got about 10 seconds. Give everybody your phone number, please.
Give us a call at 1-800-633-3049, 1-800-633-3049, or simply go to provise.com. Steve, great to be with you.
Same here, buddy. Have a good week. We'll see you soon. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we've got our personal injury show. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. This is going to be our second half of our show. It's very important, our next show coming up. I arrived down 95 here in South Florida, and I have never seen so many accidents in my life. I mean, I don't know what's happened to people's driving, but, you know, so many people do not know what to do when they're in an auto accident or have any kind of injuries. And you have asked for us to bring in a personal injury law firm. You know, we don't want to just bring in just any law firm. We found two gals who I think are the best litigators in the state of Florida. And we are so blessed to have them with us. I know we were just knocked off the air. Let's welcome the gals. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
I don't know what kind of weather you're having there you're in actually the Tampa area. Is that correct?
We're right outside of Tampa, Steve. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
And I hope your weather is better. Yes, I hope your weather is better as it is here. And I was just telling everybody, for some reason, I have never seen so many accidents as I have lately. I don't know what it is. And we're going to talk about today. But the name of your firm is Zervos and Calta. And we've got Lauren here and we've got Angela here. And I got to tell you, we just did our first show. I think everything that could possibly go wrong is happening today. Phones are going off. We lost our connection. We're back now. Everything's fine. We're going to be talking about no-fault insurance today. And I got to tell you, I hope we can also get in because we got a lot of people after your show last time wanting to know if they're in an accident with someone who doesn't have insurance, what are they supposed to do? So I want to make sure we get touch on that. But before we get started, Lauren or Angela, tell us about the law firm.
Well, we're a boutique firm. We handle personal injury cases only. We've been doing it combined. Angela and I have over 50 years of combined experience doing personal injury work. We handle cases where anybody gets hurt, whether it be a motor vehicle accident, a wrongful death, a trucking accident, a pedestrian accident, a bicycle accident, motorcycle accident, slip and fall, trip and fall, anywhere where you sustain an injury because somebody was careless or negligent. Is basically the bulk of our practice. There's some medical malpractice, but we're very selective on those. again, any time you get hurt as a result of somebody else's wrongdoing.
I want to just say one thing, because we have our show all across the United States, and we have personal injury in other states that we're in. I love the fact that you concentrate on personal injury. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of firms out there that they do bankruptcy, they do criminal law, their shingles a mile long. You just concentrate in one area, and I think that is so incredible about your firm.
Well, Steve, just like any other practice, like for instance, criminal law, somebody needs a criminal attorney. They should go to an attorney that pretty much focuses only on criminal law, not somebody that says that they do criminal law, because the laws are constantly changing. The expertise is invaluable for that person. So I think that, in real estate as well, you have a real estate issue, you need to go to somebody who specializes or focuses only on real estate. And personal injury is no different. The laws are constantly changing. We just went through a whole revamping of the tort reform laws, the tort laws in the state of Florida, known as tort reform, which has really skewed the laws in favor of the insurance companies. And so it's really important that people be very selective in choosing an attorney. When we get phone calls from prospective clients and they say that they researched us, we're so happy that they did that, because you've got to pick an attorney who, one, has years of experience, two, has been in the courtroom, three, has proven a success rate in terms of settlement values and actually litigating cases all the way to the courtroom steps. But it's real important that people do that, because, with this day and age, Google will tell you everything you need to know about your prospective attorney. So,
that we get a lot of people that were in an automobile accident, had some injuries, and they want to know, what do they do if they miss work? And what happens to their lost wages?
Well, you had mentioned going over no fault insurance when we first started, and no fault pays 80% of your medicals, and unless you opted for an exclusion to lower your premiums, 60% of your lost wages, up to $10,000 in benefits. The other 40%, or if you opted for a work loss exclusion, would be made part of your claim for damages, either against the party that caused the accident and their insurance company, or if they didn't have what's called bodily injury liability insurance, you would then look to your coverage, and hopefully you were smart enough to purchase uninsured motorist coverage. And then we would be able to pursue your coverage for your wages and your injuries and your pain and suffering, just as if it was the person that hit you.
What should people look for when they're purchasing insurance? They want to make sure that they have, because I look at everything in small print when it comes to auto insurance, and we don't really know what we need until we need it. So what would you say should people look for to make sure they are insured for?
It's interesting, Steve. Florida's got some pretty high premiums, and it's really sad. In addition to homeowners being through the roof in Florida, auto insurance is as well. And I think people just think, I'm just going to get what I need, the bare minimum to drive in the state of Florida, because quite honestly, they can't afford anything else.
Right.
And above and beyond that. And the agents, people who actually use agents, a lot of times those agents aren't really telling them everything that they need, because they're trying to secure that customer and sell them some insurance. So they'll tell them, you don't need or uninsured motorists, which is, Lauren and I say that it's really the most important coverage you can have.
Okay.
And you don't need high bodily injury limits. You only need 10, or you don't need it at all because Florida doesn't require it. You need as much as you possibly can afford. And that's what Lauren and I tell our clients when they come in and sometimes they don't really have a great policy. We tell them, listen, we don't know your budget. We don't know, what you can and can't afford, but why don't you call the insurance company and find out how much more would it cost me to add uninsured motorists? How much more would it cost me to add what's called medical payments? It might be something, as nominal as $200 or $300 for over the period of 6 months to a year, which really would enhance their coverage. So in answer to your question, I think they should try and get all the coverages. What Lauren and I like to say is full coverage. Get anything and everything that you can afford, because quite honestly, the roads, like you said, there's so many accidents. The chances of somebody getting into an accident are extremely high. The mindset of, well, it's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to need this. I'm just wasting my money. Unfortunately, we see too many people coming in and saying, I didn't think I needed it. I didn't think I was going to be in an accident. And sometimes we're just not able to help them because there's just no coverage.
A perfect example of that, Steve, I'll share a personal story. In 2015, I was involved in a 4-car accident. Lady runs a red light, hits another car. They both careen into my car. They bounce off my car, hit a 4th car. The other 2 vehicles, not the person that was at fault, they had no insurance. They registered the car. The car was registered in Kentucky. She never got insurance on the vehicle, drove it down to Florida. The other 2 vehicles did not have comprehensive and collision, which means that because there was no insurance for the other driver, they had no way of getting that car fixed. And they didn't have, most importantly, uninsured motorist coverage. Everybody was really pretty hurt from that accident. I went on to have neck surgery, and I was the only one who could recover from my pain and suffering because I had uninsured motorist coverage. The other 2 vehicles did not, and even though they were hurt, there was really not much they could do for them. So, as much as you can afford, if you're going to skimp on bills or on premiums or on spending money, skimp elsewhere before you skip on your car insurance. And Angela and I tell people all the time, before you put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, or finalize your paperwork for your insurance, call us. Stop by the office, bring us your deck page. We'd be more than happy to explain the different coverages to you and what they mean and what you should get. Doesn't cost you anything.
We had a police officer from Dade County on our show, and he told me in Dade County that 50% of the motorists there are uninsured. That is, I don't know about other counties, but that is scary, knowing if you're in an accident in Dade County that they might not have insurance.
I think that we need, and hopefully at some point in the future, Florida will actually require bodily injury coverage. It is mind-blowing that out of 50 states in the United States, Florida is one of 6 that doesn't require bodily injury. And what is bodily injury? That's the insurance coverage that you buy in case you are at fault for an accident. And, it's an accident, of course. There's no coverage ever for an intentional act on the roadways. But if you get into an accident and it's your fault for whatever reason and you hurt somebody, that person would be able to collect for their injuries from your bodily injury coverage.
Right.
And because it's not required in Florida, Lauren and I are seeing people who are decimated in ICU, people who have died, and the family members call us and say, hey, the person who hit my brother or who hit my son does not have bodily injury coverage, didn't have it. And so we really need to move towards requiring bodily injury coverage, requiring it for every car on the road. And until that happens, And even if it does happen, everybody should still have uninsured motorists to protect themselves against uninsured drivers. It is more than 50%. It's mind blowing. I mean, to be down there in Dade County and driving, I hope people have uninsured motorists down there.
It also protects you for underinsured drivers or against underinsured drivers. So if the person has minimal coverage, $10,000, and like Angela said, someone passed away, someone's in ICU, clearly $10,000 won't even cover your first 2 days in the hospital. So even if you have coverage, you can still pursue your, we call it coverage, uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. You can still pursue that even if the other side did have some insurance, but not enough to cover you.
One of the things I pride myself on this show is that we want to educate people out there. And I want to share something with you that I don't know if you realize is going on, because I know I am hit. I'm not exaggerating at all. I get at least 10 phone calls a day, not a week, but a day. It's one of these phone banks I know asking me if I've been injured in an automobile accident. Well, I know if I'm getting 10 a day, that everybody in Florida are getting hit up. I haven't been in an accident, but I still get phone calls. And explain to people about these people, these fly-by-night people who contact you over the phone.
Let me say that, you know, all attorneys are governed by the Florida bar rules, and the Florida bar is who gives us our license to practice law and regulates our practices and provides ethical rules that we must strictly adhere to. You know, there's no really gray areas. It's black and white. And one of the bar rules says, you know, we're not allowed to go out and solicit clients.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that is not something that is permitted by the Florida bar. So when you have an attorney that is, or a representative from an attorney's office, let's say, whether it's somebody who works there, somebody who's just on their payroll, to be a runner. You know, we've heard of people who are runners where they're out on the roads, they're looking for accidents, they'll stop and they'll say, hey, call this lawyer. You know, that's completely inappropriate and against the Florida bar rules. And those attorneys can get into a lot of trouble. And I would suggest to anybody that's approached by a runner or someone from a law firm or a lawyer directly, run the other way. Run.
They even scour the emergency rooms looking for accident victims.
It gives a lot of us, it gives us a bad name. The ones who are, you know, ethical, honest, you know, follow the rules and litigate the right way. We're the real winners when you practice law that way, you know, because we have not only the respect of the judiciary, the courts and the judges, but we also have the respect from the insurance companies and the defense attorneys on the other side. And so we have a great advantage, you know, by doing things the way they're supposed to be done. And I make no apologies when I say run the other way. I don't. I will not apologize for that.
You know, we talked about this last time. And again, I want to educate people. There is a big personal injury firm. I say big because they spend a fortune on advertising. And one of their ads, they say to you, and like no other, we only get paid on if you get paid. Well, that's not how it works, is it? Explain people how you get paid.
That's the law.
Yeah.
They can't get paid if you don't get paid. It's called a
I
contingency.
know. They're not offering you any special deal.
That's like giving away ice to an Eskimo. So, you know, the Florida bar governs how we get paid in personal injury cases. It's called a contingency fee, meaning our fee, Angela and I get paid the method of our payment is contingent upon you as the client obtaining a recovery, whether it be a settlement or a verdict. If there's no settlement or verdict in your favor, we don't get paid. We could put in years of time into the case. We get paid this, Steve, if you don't get a recovery. So yeah, that advertisement always makes me giggle, because
I can't believe every time I hear it, it's like,
yeah,
well, because basically everybody is supposed to charge the same amount. It's a little bit higher if you have to go to court, which it should be because there's
right,
a lot of time and effort put into
right.
that. But I
It's
just
30,
always think of that commercial that you charge the same thing that everybody else does.
yeah, it's 33 and a third if it's settled before we have to file a lawsuit. We have to file a lawsuit, and the time to respond to the lawsuit for the defendant has passed, which is 20 days from service. Then the fee goes to 40% through trial.
So, people should understand that if they're in an automobile accident, they don't have to write a check to have an attorney. And to have an attorney, what you want is a level playing field because the insurance companies have very good negotiators. And you should not try to do that on your own, especially when it doesn't cost you anything to have an attorney. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, Lauren and I always meet with prospective clients personally. We don't have them come in and meet with one of our paralegals or legal assistants. We want to be there. We want them to know if you hire us, this is the face you're going to get. This is who you're going to meet with. And, it's free. I mean, there's no harm to you. I think there's a good reason to let people know, listen, we don't get paid unless you get paid. Because some people are thinking, well, I don't have the money to get an attorney. I
Right.
just got in an accident. I have all these bills. I'm not going to be working for several weeks or months. So it's good to let them know that, but I think that it's really, really important for people to at least sit down and say, let me talk to an attorney. Let me find out what my rights are under the law. I want to make sure I don't do anything to jeopardize any of my coverages and maximize my recovery and at least make myself whole where I can recoup my lost wages and make sure that I'm not out of pocket for any medical bills. So there's never any harm, only on the upside to meet with us, talk to us on the phone or by Zoom or in person. So it's good to know these things.
Well, I'm thinking about this because I know somebody's listening to the show now. There's a lot of different areas of personal injury. What areas of personal injury do you cover?
Well, like I had started in the beginning, there's motor vehicle accidents are the most prominent. But if you've been on a bicycle and injured, if you are pedestrian and injured, if you've had a slip and fall, a trip and fall, there's medical malpractice, there's dog bite cases, the trucking accidents, if you've been involved in an accident with a truck, anything where you've been injured, that's what we cover.
Boating injuries?
Boating injuries are maritime law.
Yes.
That's a little bit different. Those laws are very unique.
So
For
if you're in a
maritime,
wreck in a boat, that is considered maritime law?
depending on how far out the accident happens from the shore, yes.
Okay. What about statute of limitations on auto accidents? Is there a such thing?
Yeah.
There is, Steve. The statute of limitations is a fancy word for your deadline. What is your deadline? The deadline used to be 4 years until March 24th. So you would have 4 years in which to file your lawsuit or settle your case. After that 4 years and 1 day, you would be forever barred from bringing it up. In March of this year, specifically March 24th, 2023, the legislature in Florida changed the statute of limitations and made it 2 years. So that's not really a whole lot of time to actually, people think 2 years is a long time, but it's really not, because there's a whole lot of factors that are involved in filing a lawsuit. But short answer to your question, 2 years, exactly 2 years from the day is the deadline.
Now, what do you suggest once you've been in an auto accident? When should they contact you?
Once they realize they're hurt.
But sometimes an injury doesn't pop up for 3 or 4 days or even a week.
That's true. That's true. If there's any questions in how to proceed with regards to the property damage or reporting the accident, or what do I do once I have the insurance information, the initial consult is free. If you're not having any problems physically, certainly Angela and I have spoken to, God, I can't even count the number of people, and guided them through that initial process for free. Some have turned out to have developed injuries, over the course of the following days or weeks. Some haven't. But when in doubt, always call. It's a free consult. It doesn't cost you anything.
Well, I got to tell you, this show, I knew it always goes by fast. Give everybody your phone number and your website.
We are at Zervos in Calta, and our main office is in Tarpon Springs, Florida, but we're licensed to practice anywhere in the entire state of Florida. And you can reach us at our website at www.zervosinjurylaw.com. or give us a call. Say hi. We're at 727-937-3171.
Well, and you're going to be back with us again this month. We will let everybody know. And thank you again. Great information. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye-bye.
And that's another Ask the Expert show. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back with you again next week. Same time, same place. Have a good week, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.